All right.
Welcome in. This is the Halloween edition of Bets and Ball Games. And Jay's in a costume today, and you're about to see it.
Alexa, play. Here we go. Left-handed layups, everybody. Here we go. Good job. Get ready. Get ready. Big game today. Big game today. Bets and Ball Games. Here we go. We're ready.
Oh, look at the left hand. He's using the offhand. Oh, no, he is a southpaw, I think. A 6'7" forward from Smyrna, Georgia for the Campbell Panthers. His name is Jay Greeson.
Alexa, shut your pie hole.
All right.
Happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. It is the Halloween edition, which means it's the Florida Georgia edition as well. And before we get going, let's tell you about BetOnline. Basketball fans, it's that time of year again. The NBA is back from opening tip-off to buzzer beaters. BetOnline has you covered. Best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams this season. Every game matters. BetOnline has every stat, matchup, breakdown, and live odds to bet on during the games, and it's not just the NBA. BetOnline has odds on everything from football, MLB playoffs, NHL, and political props. Head to the website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering. BetOnline. The game starts here. All righty, Mr. Greeson. Let's get into it. The good, bad, and the ugly. We usually discuss it in the green room. We did not today, so
Nope.
I'll let you start. Give me your good.
Auburn winning a game they had to win. I mean, I don't think in a million years, even if he had lost out, maybe if he'd lost out, Hugh Freeze would have been fired, because Auburn can't be in a cycle of doing this every 2 to 3 years. And he's recruiting his tail off. But he went to Lexington and he won a game that I didn't really expect him to win. And it also, if I can go straight into the bad, why the hell is Jarquez Hunter not getting that many carries in every damn game?
I looked. It was a season high in carries.
Yes.
I looked.
And he goes for 240 plus.
No, he went
against a defense that had completely stifled Georgia.
Yes. He went for more than 240. He went for 278. And there's your SEC Player of the Week, Mr. Jarquez Hunter. His previous high was 20 carries. He had 23.
He's going to be one of those dudes, and I know Florida's had a handful of them in the post-Spurrier era, that get to the league and you
Darren
go,
Sproles type. Right.
Holy buckets, he's way better than he was in college, because we just didn't use him well enough.
Right. Yeah, I agree. He's going to play in the NFL a long, long time. Probably never a 25 carry between the tackles back, but 10 touches a game for more than a decade. All right, my good. I mean, it's got to be Mike Elko and the Aggies, who have now won 7 in a row. And Elko, making the call to switch from Wegman to Marcel Reed. And, I don't know why he went back to Wegman to begin with, but I look stupid thinking that, because Wegman was just fantastic against Missouri. But it was 6 of 18 last week. I want to say 2 interceptions. He had to yank him, and Marcel Reed comes in and runs for 3 touchdowns and hits a couple of big pass plays. And A&M took what was a game they were down by double digits and turned it into a double-digit win. All right, so did you handle your good and bad? So we go ugly?
My bad is Missouri. My bad is everything that's going on in Columbia, Missouri. And you and I both had high hopes. We both thought LB3 was going to be, and he still may be an NFL first rounder. But if Brady Cook's not on the field, Missouri couldn't beat UTC. So, I mean, and that at that point, if you're that dependent on a 5-star quarterback, you're not Eli Drinkowitz or wanting to be Lane Kiffin. You're Gene Chizik, period. I mean, so Eli Drinkowitz, you're about to meet a hot seat because you have so underachieved just because your quarterback got hurt. And that's not an excuse anymore because, I mean, they lose to Auburn if they don't shoot Brady Cook up with horse tranquilizers, allegedly, coming back from a hospital visit. I mean, when's the last time you went to the hospital? God almighty, it doesn't take 45 minutes. It takes like 4.5 hours. And Brady Cook got back for the Auburn game and was completely fine between the second quarter and the start of the fourth quarter. I mean, holy cow, man. They need to start being the Missouri Bradys.
All right, my bad's got to be Kentucky, man. You got to score more than 10 points at home. I thought they made good choices in the portal when they got Devin Leary and Brock Vandegrift, but both choices have ended up no bueno whatsoever. But I can't scold Stoops for it because I was tipping my cap to him in the offseason ahead of both seasons, but it just has not worked out. And we'll talk about it more in a minute. But they've got some bad injury losses that they're going to be dealing with in Knoxville this weekend. It's not going to be good for them. So where are you on your ugly UGLY?
Brian Kelly in big games. I mean,
FSU twice, 2 years in a row.
You talk about the season openers through the years.
USC.
You talk about this game. Yes, it's on the road. So I'm not going to say it was a field goal spread either way, depending on where you look. I'm not saying the loss is bad. What I'm saying is they didn't adjust in game. They didn't. It didn't feel like they were fully prepared for the environment. I know they started fast, but I mean, at some point, you lose this many big games in a row, this many season-turning games in a row. You got to look. You can't look at the players. You're going to have to look at the culture and the guy who's creating the culture. And for that, my ugly is Brian Kelly.
All right, I guess I'll go to Starkville. I mean, and look, I had been singing Jeff Lebby's praises and talking about how, don't mind all these L's because these guys are covering spreads and covering them easily, and we're very competitive at Texas and at Georgia and at home to A&M, who all three of those teams are in the top 10 right now. But then you can't just get smashed 58-25 by Arkansas. So, and now they have, what are they? 1-8? Or no, wait. 1-7 because they got 4 games left. Yeah. And 7 losses in a row and no wins against FBS opponents. So there we are. All right. And now we are off to the races with week 10 games. And before I get to those, let me give you the BetOnline's updated odds to win the SEC championship game. Georgia is the plus 190 chalk. Texas just 10 cents behind them at plus 200. The Vols plus 400, A&M plus 575, LSU 8-1, Bama 25-1, and Ole Miss 33-1, and everybody else is off the board. Any thoughts on those odds? Sound about right to you?
I would roll the dice with Texas A&M at those numbers. To be honest,
that's kind of what I was thinking. Yeah.
I mean, because I know they're, and I know we'll get into it, but they're an inexplicably small favorite going to Columbia, South Carolina this weekend. But other than that, I mean, their toughest game to get to Atlanta for the SEC championship game is Texas, and that game's off the board. That game's a coin flip just because of all the emotion in it. And I'm talking about that from a guy who went to Auburn, who knows when little brother is the host team, that game goes. You don't know how that game works out.
I feel like in the summer that the spread was plus 11.5, and we might have talked about how we both thought A&M was a good play.
Yes.
FanDuel has updated its line for that game, and it has 4.5. Texas 4.5. A&M plus 150 money line, total of 51.5. And Georgia is another game of the year they have posted as a 10.5 point favorite against the Vols. That's November 16th. The Vols are plus 300 money line, total of 53.5. And just for giggles, I will throw out that like 2 days ago, they had Ohio State 13.5 at home to Indiana, was down to 12.5 now, possibly because Curtis Rourke is back this week. We'll talk about their game at Sparty later on in the show, but let's jump into the SEC slate, and we start with Ole Miss at Arkansas, a noon kickoff on ESPN, and our good friends at BetOnline currently have Ole Miss listed as a 7-point favorite. However, they've got minus 128 juice on Ole Miss, and the total is 54, and the money line return on the Razorbacks is plus 250. What are your thoughts here, Jay?
Well, I did not realize that the total was that low, to be honest. And I know Ole Miss has some dudes, some future NFL dudes across the defensive front. This feels like one of those lines that you just don't believe, and then you look up and Ole Miss wins by 17. And so if I'm going to play a side here, I'm laying the number even in Fayetteville. My preferred play on this is over the 54, but if I got to take a side, I'm taking Ole Miss because of the stakes and just the matchup. I don't think really lends itself too well to Arkansas.
All right, so the availability report, injury report, whatever they call it, student athlete availability report, last night comes out. Matt Jones, RB2, who's missed like 3 or 4 games in a row, he's questionable. He's been doubtful the last couple weeks. Trey Harris is questionable. Did not play at home to Oklahoma last week. And Nate Kalepo, who's a starting O-lineman, is also questionable. So, I think Harris's presence or lack thereof, I think it swings the line 1.5 or so. So, I mean, if he gets upgraded, I could see the line moving above 7. Or maybe, questionable is questionable to me. I haven't really heard anything making me think it's more doubtful or more probable. I tell you this, I picked Arkansas in my contest where there's 25 specified games. It's not going to be one of my plays this week, but if Harris is out, I'll personally bet a little bit on Arkansas. Not a lot, not a strong opinion. If Harris plays, I don't like the game because I don't want to lay points with Ole Miss. Now, I will give a few stats here. So, as a home underdog during Sam Pittman's 5-year tenure, Arkansas is 8-5 against the spread. However, in 31 games as an underdog of any sort, at any venue, home, away, neutral, double digit, single digit, whatever the case, as underdogs under Pittman, the Razorbacks are 21-9-1 ATS with 9 outright wins. Ole Miss has won 4 of the last 6 head-to-head meetings, but Arkansas is 9-1 against the spread with 6 outright wins in the last 10 in this rivalry. The under has cashed in 7 straight for Ole Miss, but I'm not trying to defecate on your pick of the over here. most of those totals for Ole Miss were in the 60s. So I just point out that they've cashed 7 straight, but at much higher totals than we have here this week.
Go ahead and raise your hand if you did not expect defecate to be part of any of the vernacular that we were throwing around this morning.
Well, I didn't want to say SHIT. So anyway, the under is on a 4-1 run for the Razorbacks in their last 5. All right. So if Trey Harris is out, small opinion Arkansas. Otherwise, I'm not on this game. Mr. Greeson likes the Rebels.
Yes.
All right. Vanderbilt at Auburn. May I hog the floor for a minute before we get to your opinion on this?
I'm going to say the first thing, and it's going to take 2 sentences. And then I'm going to get up, and I may change my clothes. I don't know. I don't want any part of this game because I have vowed never to bet against Diego Pavia ever again.
But wait,
you may have the floor.
But hold on. So you're only not betting Auburn because of your Diego rule, or because you do kind of like Auburn this week?
No, I like Auburn a lot. No, I every other place but at quarterback, Auburn's going to line up and punch him in the face. A lot of people don't realize that Auburn should be part of the conversation. And you can't say if in college football because if is what happened. You're saying if this didn't happen, if so-and-so didn't win the lottery, if Bill Gates didn't invent Apple, if all these other things, those it doesn't matter because Auburn turned the ball over 15 times in the first 4 weeks. Auburn's going to have 6 guys drafted. Auburn's got more talent across the field than Vandy does, and it's not close. But there's no way I'm betting against Diego Pavia. No way.
That's right. All right. Now, you're welcome to change out of your Halloween costume. However, I would like you to hear a few statoids, if you will, before you go. Okay. All right. Diego Pavia, as we've discussed, is Hugh Freeze's daddy. All right. He brought New Mexico State to Liberty as a 24.5-point road underdog and won 49-14 in 2022. And then last year, he took his Aggie squad to Jordan Hare and won 31-10 as a 26-point road underdog. So by my math, Pavia's teams against Freeze's teams, compared to the closing spread of the game, Pavia's teams have won by 106.5 combined points. That's a stat.
That actually sounds pretty good over the course of 12 games. It sounds amazingly good over the course of 2 games. Yes. No. I mean, now, conversely, I think Hugh Freeze's most humiliating moment in Auburn was last year's New Mexico State game.
I would hope so.
I really think he spent a hell of a lot more time getting ready for Diego Pavia this week than he has in any other juncture. I'm still not picking against Diego Pavia.
I know you're not. Yeah, you know another reason why you're not? Because Vandy's 5-0 against the spread as an underdog this year with 3 outright wins. They easily cover again last week. Diego has now completed 64.5% of his passes, 1,534 passing yards, 13-3 TDI&T ratio, and he has a team high 537 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. Now, their lead back, Cedric Alexander, is questionable. Go ahead.
If you had a vote right now, do you vote Diego Pavia SEC Player of the Year?
Yes.
I do too. I mean, I know Jackson Dart or Carson Beck or some of these other cats may get invited to New York in the popularity contest.
What's Vandy's record without Diego Pavia?
1 in how many ever?
Yep.
I mean, honestly, and I'll go you a step further. If Mark Stoops could have traded Brock Vandergriff for Diego Pavia before the season, which we all would have thought was somewhat of an even deal or both transfers with high hopes and whatever else, Kentucky may be 7-1.
Yeah. Yep, no
I
doubt.
damn well know Auburn's 7-1 if Diego Pavia had hustled his ass to the Plains.
I can't understand why Freeze didn't try to make that happen. I mean, you take 2 ass beatings, ruthless pimp slaps. How could that not have been a thought?
All right. What's the next game? I'm tired of
All
talking.
right, well, hold on. Let me clarify. I made Auburn -2.5 in this game. I love Vanderbilt, and I love them to win outright. Vandy +7 is my big bet, and then I like them +210-ish on the money line. Our friends at BetOnline have actually moved Auburn to 7.5. Wow, it looks like a bunch of books have moved Auburn to 7.5. Total is 47.5. So maybe my money line's a better price now at +240 at
This is
BetOnline.
a week filled with games that you're going, that line makes no sense to me.
Right?
I mean, we're talking about A&M in Columbia, South Carolina. We're talking about Ole Miss on the road, and Lane Kiffin doesn't cover. We're talking about Vandy, who's a win away from bowl eligible, going to the most disappointing team in the SEC in Auburn, and they're now getting more than a touchdown in most places. This is it's a great. Hey, you know what it is? It feels like it could be Halloween
or Shake Up Saturday. Just a couple thoughts on the totals. Unders hitting 3 straight for Auburn to improve to 5-3 overall. The over's 5-2-1 overall for Vandy, but the under is 2-0-1 in its last 3 games. SEC Network, 12:45 p.m. Eastern. All right, world's largest outdoor cocktail party and eye candy gathering in orange and blue and red and black. It'll go down 3:30 Eastern at Everbank Stadium on the St. Johns River in Jacksonville. Kickoff on ABC 3:30. I already said that, didn't I? I sure did. Okay, BetOnline has whoa. Why does all this line movement always happen Thursday after lunch when I drive here and I don't look at it for like an hour and then I look? BetOnline has Georgia. I'll let you guess. Do you think which way do you think Georgia has moved? North of 17?
I think Georgia's probably like to 18.5 or 19.
That's what I would think with Florida's injuries. No, Georgia's down to 14.5 at BetOnline and DraftKings and the Westgate Superbook. I mean, when I left the house, it was 16 or 16.5. So
I mean, when I started this morning, I wrote my column for the 5 at 10 at timesfreepress.com. There were a lot of 17.5s, and I didn't like it between the 16.5 and 17.5 number. If I could find Georgia come Saturday under 14,
yeah, it ain't under 14.
All right, I'm going to give you the floor right here because you're about to speak passionately, not about your pick, but about your passion about what you want to have happen. And I think our viewers need to hear it.
Well, I'm only interested in the long-term health of the Florida Gators football program. And the long-term health involves a beta male who owns the worst coaching hire in SEC basketball history in Rick Ray at Mississippi State. And he now owns the worst hire in SEC football history, Billy Napier, who is 10-17 against Power 5 competition. I say 5 instead of 4 because Oregon State was an opponent 2 years ago in a bowl game. 10-17 at the University of Florida with a brand new practice facility, the ability to turn over a roster faster than it's ever been able to do in college football with the use of the portal, with NIL, which should be a strength at Florida, but it's not been a top 10 like strength. And if Florida were to pull the upset here, or maybe even because we've got so many bozos running my alma mater, or maybe even just play very competitive here and then pull an upset over LSU or Ole Miss, maybe these dumbasses are going to think about keeping Napier. So I don't like it for our players, but I really hope Florida gets pounded. Now, I would have sitting here saying I lean Florida, but yesterday we find out Jason Marshall's out for the season, best cover corner for the Gators, and Eugene Wilson, best playmaker on offense. I guess outside or with DJ Lagway, he is out. That is huge. And I thought we were going to get Asa Turner back, the safety who was supposed to be a starter this year but got hurt against Miami. He's out again. So and Montrell Johnson's questionable after missing the last game, and a starting O-lineman, Damian George, is questionable. And Georgia is getting back Tate Ratledge, the All-American. So I would have said Florida at 17 is a lean if Eugene Wilson was playing or Montrell was playing. But now it's a pass, and like you just noted, if it were to get to 14, maybe it's a lean to Georgia. I wouldn't bet it, but so there's my spiel on that one.
Well, my favorite play on this is over 52. I think DJ makes plays, and I think Georgia, you mentioned Tate Ratledge coming back. I think Georgia's starting to find its groove. I think Georgia's going to put 35 up. I think Florida's going to do everything they can. I don't see Georgia shutting Florida out. I think DJ makes too many plays. But if I'm playing this game, I'm going over 52. Unless it gets to 13.5, and then I'm taking Georgia.
Okay, a couple of quick factoids on this game, and then we'll move on. The over's 4-3 for the Gators. The under's 5-2 for Georgia. Florida's been a double-digit underdog under Napier 7 times. They've lost all those games, but they're 5-2 against the spread. The Gators went 21-6 against Georgia from 1990 to whatever that math is, I guess to 17-ish. But Georgia's won 3 in a row and 6 of the last 7 in this head-to-head rivalry. All right, Texas A&M at South Carolina. ABC, 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Actually, I skipped over Mississippi State at UMass, 4:15 p.m. Eastern, SEC Network. We don't need to discuss this one, do we?
Nope.
I didn't think so. All right, back to A&M at South Carolina. Sorry, Hail State fans.
No, God bless you, Hail State. I hope you pull out a W, and I hope you guys enjoy the party. And there's no way I'm laying. Yeah, there's no way you're laying the more than 3 touchdowns price with anything.
Yep. All right, so A&M at South Carolina. All right, the spot heavily favors South Carolina with 2 weeks to prepare, and A&M coming off a huge home game. All right, this line's been 2.5 all week, but BetOnline and most other books have moved to 3. Here's some more right after lunch line movement on Thursday, which is kind of what happens. And A&M -3, total of 44. South Carolina on the money line plus 130. What say you?
I'm all over Texas A&M. This is honestly a mortgage payment play for me. I mean, they've got Elko is. You were right about Elko. I was wrong. That guy looks the part. That guy has redirected a program that was a sleeping giant in terms of support, in terms of crowd, in terms of recruiting possibility, in terms of financial backing, all of it. And I mean, they're 10 in the country for a reason. And if I'm going to sit here and say I was wrong about Elko, and Elko looks to be a top 12, 10, 15 range coach in the country, I damn well know Shane Beamer's nowhere close to that. And yeah, his kids, okay, he's got a defensive line who's as good as the top 5 or 6 defensive lines in the country. They can't compete anywhere else with what Texas A&M is trotting out there. I know the place is going to be going nuts. And maybe this is one of those sucker bets. But you know what? I've been called worse than a sucker in my life. So if I'm going to look at this with what I know factually and what I expect, and not have to put a whole lot of stock in emotion, Texas A&M beats them by at least a touchdown 8 out of 10 times that they play. And that, to me, feels like as good a bet as you can make in a gambling scenario.
Yeah, I just have so many non-SEC games that I like that this is just not going to make my card. I made A&M 3, but if I have to, like, for conversation purposes, throw something out, I think that total is really low. I mean, I think both defenses are good, but 44, that's a pretty low total. So my lean on this one would be over 44. The over has hit in 4 of the last 5. For the Gamecocks, who are 4-3 straight up, 5-2 against the spread, and they're 5-5 ATS in 10 games as a home underdog on Shane Beamer's watch. All right, let's go Kentucky at Tennessee, and the injuries for Kentucky in this game are massive. In fact, their 3 best players on the defense are out. Maxwell Harrison, second team All-SEC corner. Last year when he had 5 interceptions, he remains out. He's been out a good month or so. But the new injuries to the best players are J.J. Weaver, who's got 5 sacks this year. He's out, veteran defensive end. De'Aaron Jackson, their leading tackler last year, and he's having another big-time season this year. He's out. So that's your 3 best players on defense that are out. And they've got a lot of guys listed, they've got a couple of defensive players also listed as questionable. Now, the good news is Demi Sumo Karnbe.
Bless you.
Yeah. He's upgraded to probable after missing last week. So that's the good news. Tennessee is currently 17 at BetOnline with a total of 45.5, 7:45 p.m. Eastern kick on the SEC network. What you got, Jay?
I think really the only play here is laying the number with the Vols. And I think, honestly, one of the reasons, and we didn't talk about it necessarily with Ole Miss going to Arkansas, I think there are going to be some younger, more astute coaches very well aware that Monday and Tuesday, the committee is going to put out their first poll. And the playoff committee's final poll is the most important poll. The next most important poll is the first poll, because that puts you everybody on a path. I think this is one you're going to look up and everybody's going to turn it off at halftime other than diehard Tennessee fans. And Heupel's going to lay the lumber to Kentucky.
Okay. I was a lean to Kentucky until I found out J.J. Weaver and Jackson were out. And so now.
And they lean so much on that defense, Brian.
Yeah. Oh, I know. Now,
if they can't get after the passer,
yeah.
And Nico is not going to be harassed, they're going to have a hard time keeping them under 40. And that's with a total of what? What did you say the total was?
45.5.
Yeah, with a 17-point spread. So that tells you what the analytics say about Kentucky's offense.
Has Stoops even declared who's starting? I mean, I got a feeling we might see Gavin Wimsatt starting this one, the Rutgers transfer. When did he come in the game last week against Auburn? Like third quarter?
Late.
Oh, later, not till.
Well, I mean, Kentucky was up 10-0 before losing 24-10.
Right. Yeah.
So
I got you. Okay. Yeah. Well, so I don't know. I don't like this game.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm with you. There are a couple, and let's take a break, and you can talk about your buddy, and we can do those things. There are way more bettable outside of SEC games, although I don't know how much that serves our friends at Southeastern 16. So I've tried to give an opinion on all the ones where I'm going, but Army plays this weekend.
I think
Army
no, they
plays
do.
this
All right,
weekend.
we're gonna take
If
it.
you've been watching us on
That's
Bets and
right.
Ball Games, there ain't nobody who loves Army since George S. Patton more than me.
Are you an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify, or are you an employee that's simply tired of answering to the man? If so, let me tell you about our guy, Andy Ludecke, and his business, myperfectfranchise.net. Andy had it with corporate America. He was married with one kid, another on the way. He wanted to start his own business. He did just that. He's got multiple businesses now, Big Red Trash Company. He's got a gutter company. He's got this company. He can help you do the same thing. Here's how it works. You go to Andy's website, myperfectfranchise.net. You set up an intro call, a 1-hour consultation, and it's 100% free. And look, Andy's good people. He wants to help. And you're going to tell him about your passions, your skills, your goals, the time and money you have to invest in this endeavor. And then Andy's going to figure out what sort of business fits your DNA. He's going to get you registered with potential franchises. He'll find the best franchise that suits the vision and corporate culture you want. And before you know it, you'll be on your way making greenbacks galore. So what are you waiting for? Reach out to our guy, Andy Ludecke at myperfectfranchise.net. And you can call him, as you see the number on the screen, 404-973-9901, myperfectfranchise.net. Okay, let's get into our non-SEC picks. All right, how are you going to attack the Army Black Knights at home against Air Force? Noon Eastern kick. BetOnline has Army at 21.5 and a total of 40.5. And by the looks of my board, if you like the over, 40.5 is the lowest number you got. So go see our friends at BetOnline to bet the over. What do you think?
I love everything about Army in terms of team total, but I especially love everything about Army before halftime. I think Army this game's gonna take like 47 minutes because of the way both of these teams play. But Army minus 12.5 in the first half, and these are numbers I got this morning for my morning column, and minus 6.5 in the first quarter. The numbers, and I know you're normally the stats guy and you crunch a whole bunch of numbers.
You want me to tell you their halftime scores right now?
Well, I can tell you over the course of the season, Army is fourth best in the first quarter in the country at more than 10 points a game. Air Force is 129th among 134 teams in the FBS at 1.7 points per game in the first quarter. The difference in the first half is Army 22.5, Air Force 7.8. And I don't know if Air Force has played anybody as consistently good on both sides as Army this year.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I also like Army anywhere from, I've seen it from 11.5 to 13.5 in the first half. Let's see what our guys at BetOnline have it in the first half. They have 13.5, but I'm fine with it at 13.5. So Army, here are their halftime scores this year: 24-0 at home to East Carolina, 34-3 at home to UAB, 21-7 at Tulsa, 14-0 at Temple, 28-0 at home to Rice, 14-7 at FAU. That's the only outlier that would not be a cover. And in that game, FAU scored a touchdown with 53 seconds left till halftime, and 21-7 at home to Lehigh. So look, they've been up by 14 or more at halftime of every single game this year, with one exception. That was at FAU. And Air Force has trailed by double digits at halftime in 3 straight. So I'm like you. I think Army, you can bet them any way you want. I think minus 21.5 or 22 for the game. I prefer their team total over 31.5 and minus 11.5 to 13.5 in the first half. As for the team total, Army has scored 45, 44, 49, 42, 37, 24, and 42 this year. So the only outlier is 24. They've had at least 37 or more in all 7 games. They've scored 42 or more in 4 straight. And Bryson Daly, QB, 909 rushing yards, 19 touchdowns, 6.6 yards per carry average, and 7 touchdown passes, no picks. We both like Army. Any way you want to bet them?
Well, Army has been, and we've even talked about it multiple times over the last few weeks, Brian. Army has been this year's LSU over.
Yep.
It's ride or die. However you want to play Army, it's ride or die.
And flip side of that, Air Force has been the exact opposite. They're 1-6 straight up, 0-7 against the spread, and their lone win was against an FCS opponent. All right. So, what you got? Any other non-SEC picks?
Well, not that people will see, since I like the Thursday night game, but they're not going to be able to see that. So it is what it is.
You don't want them to be able to hear whether you won or lost?
Okay, I'm happy for them too. I just didn't know.
Spit it out.
No, give me Tulane Charlotte over 55. I mean, I think Tulane's going to do a whole lot of the heavy lifting, but
oh yeah,
it's that number's growing by the hour, and you're talking about on the road on a Thursday night. But Tulane's going to score enough to win. Hell, Tulane may get there by themselves.
Have you played any of these midweek games the last couple nights?
Oh yes, and made a fortune.
Me too. I'm 5-0. I'm 5-0 the last 2 nights.
Yeah, Jacksonville State, and I know you love Rich Rod. I mean, you've got like a poster of Rich Rod in like the Raquel Welch outfit from Shawshank Redemption with "What say you there, fuzzy britches?" So yeah, I got you.
Well, time out. Like I like betting Rich Rod at Jacksonville State because he catches winners for me. But we both hate Rich Rod. If he takes the Bama job, Nick Saban never steps foot in Tuscaloosa. So we both hate our Rod, but he's making it up to us.
And not only does Auburn win a hell of a lot more games, but your boy Steve Spurrier has a legit beef about being the best SEC coach of all time, because right now he doesn't. Right now he's got nothing. And while we say that, happy birthday, Nick Saban, today on Halloween. 73 today.
Wow, I hope I'm thriving in 23 years like he is thriving. I just gave away my age, didn't I?
Could you ever see a job being something he was lured back to doing?
Oh, I'm all for the Gators making him say no, but I don't think he's coming.
Yeah, I don't either. But I mean, I don't know if there's a job out there, but you look up and want to be a guy who wins a natty at another locale, because he would.
Maybe he's got the itch. I don't know. He seems like he enjoys what he's doing, but anyway. All right, so here's another non-SEC pick for me. I mean, our listeners that are loyal know I'm going right back to my Indiana Hoosiers yet again. Another easy winner last week, even without Curtis Rourke. He is back this week, 15-3 TDINT ratio. So I got it at -7 early in the week. So I obviously, it looks like BetOnline's got 7.5. So if you're betting at BetOnline, buy that half point to 7. And you'll be on a good number like me, but I'm not against it at -8. They've won every game this year by 14 or more. Sparty, not very good. I mean, they're not as bad as they've been the last couple of years, but they're still not very good. And give me the Hoosiers. They've dealt out, they've 2-0 but straight up and against the spread on the road. They won 42-13 at UCLA, 41-24 at Northwestern. Give me the Signettis in that one.
Well, and to that end, don't you have to, and I know you have been riding the Hoosiers like I've been riding Army, but don't you have to look a little bit towards early quarter, first half plays, in the sense that the stat I saw is like Indiana's the first team in almost like 80 years.
Never trailed.
who has not trailed through the first 8 games of the season. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah. I've been betting them first half as well, and I'm on a -4 in the first half as well. I just, sometimes I don't want our listeners to just have that many plays, but I'm okay with it.
All right, let me ask you this though, because I'm puzzled by this, and I need your opinion. Is the wrong team favored in Happy Valley come Saturday?
I don't think so.
I mean, Penn State's now catching like 4.5, 5. I mean, tell us what our friends on BetOnline say, but
it's 3.5 everywhere on what I'm looking at right now.
Okay.
BetOnline's 3.5 and 45.5. Westgate's moved to 3. But I don't like that game. I mean, I really hadn't watched a ton of either one of those teams, which is terrible on me. I mean, I watched the Ohio State-Oregon game. I watched some of the Penn State-USC game. Penn State hadn't really played anybody, have they? I'm trying to think what exciting games they've been involved in. Let's see. They really haven't other than USC. No. Oh, they beat Illinois 21-7. Actually, I watched a good bit of that Bowling Green game because Bowling Green had the lead. I flipped it over the Big Ten Network and watched a little bit of that. We'll see. But I don't have a strong opinion. It sounds like you like Penn State.
I do, but
James Franklin, big game.
Yeah, no, and that's fair.
That's scary.
That's completely fair.
I'll never forget. They were down. It was probably 4 years ago, maybe. They were down 3. They're at like midfield, and they're driving at home to Ohio State. 4th and 6. They called a quarterback draw.
Yeah.
That went nowhere. I was just like, what? What the F was that play call? Anyway, all right. Hey, are you fading the Noles this week? Y'all know I am. Give me Carolina -2.5 in Tallahassee. Although I did William Qualkenbush, I was on the air in Clemson as a guest earlier today. He told me that Mac Brown has 0 career wins against FSU.
If we're going to talk ACC, and that stat's kind of eye-popping, I think one of the programs that is very much aware that the first college football playoff committee poll comes out next week is Miami. And I think Miami is going to baptize Duke.
I'm sorry. Say that last part again. I was grabbing a bottle of water. I lost my headphones.
That's all right. And you got those crazy glasses that split in the middle. It's nuts. Yeah. I think Miami is going to be well aware that they are now playing for style points for the last month because their strength of schedule is not super good. I think they're going to take Duke to the woodshed this week.
All right. 20.5 is the last number that I saw. Let's see, where's that game? Okay, it's 20 with our friends at BetOnline. That's a pass for me. All right, so back to UNC. I'm laying 2.5 at FSU. Jacoby Criswell, 4 touchdown passes, no picks the last 3 games. They came out of the open date and snapped their 4-game losing streak. Now, 3 of those games were really, close games. But they snapped the losing streak. They win 41-14 at UVA, and we know FSU cannot stop the run. And Omarion Hampton, second-team All-American last year. He has 1,006 rushing yards, 9 touchdowns, 5.6 yards per carry average. He's going to run all over FSU, and Carolina is going to win and cover, in my opinion. I am also going with Pitt plus 7.5 at SMU. Eli Holstein was upgraded to probable per Narduzzi at his radio show last night. Pitt has 2 extra days of rest because they smashed Syracuse last Thursday. And SMU's quarterback, Kevin Jennings, questionable. They lost their stud tight end, R.J. Maryland, to a season-ending injury before the last game, and they had to go to overtime to win at Duke last week. Now, I don't think there's much of a drop-off to who is now the backup, Preston Stone, but he was the starter for like 3 years until like week 4 or so of this year. So anyway, I made SMU 4. It's 7.5. I like Pitt plus 7.5. Anything else for you?
The last one I'm looking at is if you can still catch Nebraska under a touchdown with UCLA coming to Lincoln, I think that one's going to get out of hand too.
All right. I'm going to move over to the pro level where I continue to hammer the Commanders. And I know some might say, oh, you got lucky on a Hail Mary last week. No, I did, but I didn't. Washington should have won that game by 3 touchdowns. They settled for field goals of 27, 28, and 30 yards in the first half. And before the 28-yarder, Zach Ertz scored a touchdown. I have no idea why the replay booth did not reverse that call. It's complete nonsense. Whatever the case, I've backed Washington 7 games in a row, 6-0-1 against the spread. I got a clean 3 Monday morning, and I could not believe it. And I made my biggest bet of the year. But I'm okay with it at 4. But my biggest bet of the year is on Washington, -3 at -110 juice somehow. Love that. Also love the Lions, -3 at Green Bay. I could care less if Jordan Love plays or not. Jared Goff, 10 touchdown passes, no interceptions last 4 games. The Detroit Lions are the best team in the NFL, plain and simple. Finally, a smaller opinion on the Indianapolis Colts, +5 or 5.5 at Minnesota. The Colts have been underdogs 5 times this year. They're 5-0 against the spread. Flacco's playing 7-1 TDI&T ratio. So I'm on that. And then I'm on the Texans tonight. Small opinion, +2 at the Jets. It would be a big opinion, but they've got wide receiver injuries. So small opinion, the Jets are a mess.
One small NFL thought from me. I really think Cleveland is about to be a tough out with Jameis Winston. I think the Deshaun Watson experiment turned into a complete disaster that affected everything that they were trying to do.
Yep.
And we all know Jameis had his issues in Tallahassee and in various stops, whatever else, but that is a very good defense. And the Chargers are coming, and the Chargers are limited, and the Browns are getting points at home. I like the Browns here.
All right. Lastly, for me, I'm going to throw out 2 NFL prop bets, and I don't think they're available yet. Player props. Okay, hold on. Maybe, oh no, these are awards. Okay, so A.J. Brown has gone over his receiving yards prop every game he's played this year. Now, he missed like 3, but he's 4-0 when he's been in there. I had it again last week. It was 76.5. I'm expecting it to be in the low 80s this week, but as long as it's 83 or less, I'll be on the over again. Kyle Pitts has hit his over 4 weeks in a row. It was 42.5 last week. It flew over in the first half. I think it's going to be.
Yeah, but that shouldn't have been a touchdown. You know that, right?
Yeah, I know it shouldn't have been. I don't know what the hell he was thinking there, but we're going to get past that. Anyway, yes, it was terrible by him. I don't know what the hell he was thinking there.
And it's terrible that in a $15 billion a year industry,
how did they not have that angle?
How do we not have a camera angle to actually make the right call? And it would have cost both of us our preferred NFL team a win. But
hey, they did have the camera angle. Have you seen the camera angle?
Yes.
Why didn't the NFL have access to it? That's insane. How is there a camera angle and the NFL isn't able to look at it? And I'm watching it live, and I'm like, where's the camera angle from that side?
We're going to have an issue show sooner rather than later. Next week, we're going to talk college hoop props too, right?
Sure. So my last one was Pitts. Look, I like it all the way up to like 53-ish. Because they're finally throwing him the ball. They've ignored him for 3 years. Now they're throwing him the ball. And voila. Catches, points, yards,
wins.
Think
how good this team could have been if they didn't draft a backup quarterback with the 8th overall pick.
Yep.
That's happy Halloween, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Bets and ball games were brought to you by myperfectfranchise.net and BetOnline. We are out of here. Thanks to Southeastern 16, and we will talk to you next week.